Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Welcome back, friends. Today we drove a few short blocks down the street from my own shop to hang out with some young entrepreneurs like myself, although we only have one in the frame at the moment. But our guest today is the owner of the coolest new glass shop in the Chippewa Valley, but believe me, his store is a lot more than just another place to buy pipes. You can obviously see in the background already. Welcome to the show, the owner of Heady Hut in Eau Claire, Jake Connel, right? That's how you pronounce it?
Yes, sir.
And off camera, who's going to be joining us at some point here, is Sam Pastorello.
Yes.
All right, cool. I'm glad that I pronounced it right. Before we really dive into it, what's your 1 minute pitch as far as like, why do people want to come to Heady Hut? What's like cool about it?
Like you said, it's more than just selling pipes. We enjoy having people come in to shop for all sorts of different things. Like we've got a bunch of different snacks back here. All this stuff is going to be stuff that you don't see anywhere around here normally. There are a few things I've seen at other stores, maybe like around the U.S., but definitely nothing that you see around here. So a lot of it's from like Thailand, Japan, just different parts of the world, really. And then I would say we sell a lot of different candles. We sell our own merch line, so it's definitely a lot more than just pipes. We've got a bunch of different art in here as well, too. That's from local artists and from just stuff from our collections as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a creative lounge, you know? Like, you got your cases with glass, right? Like, that's obviously a big part of business, and you have all the stuff you need for smoking and all that type of stuff. But realistically, like, that's a small amount of the square footage. Like, you can't see on camera how big this place is, but this is a very large spot. I mean, you even have a big old wraparound couch where people just, like, hang out, you know? And you have way more art than I've seen in just about any other store. You have more art than a lot of stores have that are specifically just for selling art. You know, granted, a lot of those places like space the art out pretty far versus yours is like a college dorm room where everything's just like, boom, how much can we
put
fit?
Everything up here. I just bought 3 more canvases the other day, and it's, again, another local person that wanted to be in the store, and I can't really say no to that. And it's stuff I like too. So
do you guys so how does that work? Do you buy it from them first at a wholesale price, kind of like you would buy other products? Or is it like, you know, they sell it here and you give them back the commission from it, like consignment type situation, or how does it work?
Some of it's consignment, some of it's cash outright. It kind of just depends on the artist and how much stuff they want to sell, really. Sometimes we get people that come in here and drop off like 10, 11 things, and I don't necessarily have the cash right now to just pay out for that, but I like it and I want it in here. So
it's kind of case by case basis.
Yep. We do. It's a little bit of each, really. I'd say it's probably almost a good 50-50.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get more into that a little bit later. In your own words, who are you and what are you passionate about?
I would say I really like sales, but I also like the fact that in every sale, you're almost helping someone get something that they want.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, that's what good salespeople do.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's just kind of the part I enjoy. Like, people get excited about stuff when they come in here, even if it's a $5 bag of chips or a $3,000 rig, where people get excited over anything, and that's what I like to see. So, if they're not getting excited about it, then I'm not either, and that's how I have fun in here. So
sure. Yeah, like I said, this is more like a community kind of like hangout spot, which I can really relate to because I own a skateboard shop, right? Like that's kind of what that space is too. And I've been in sales since I was like 16. And as I learned, as I went up through the little climbing the ladder in different areas within sales, I very much realized that the best salespeople don't sell items anyways. That's just not how it works. They sell themselves as the solution. So when I need something that this person may know anything about at all, they're going to come to Jake, And sometimes that's just going to be them texting you saying, hey, I found this random thing online that seems too good to be true. What do you think? And they'll get your advice on that and you'll totally give it to them because they're going to trust you then with everything else, right? And it's like a very like, you actually do want what's best for them. And when you own a business, it's cool because you don't get stuck in that like short term. You know what I mean? Where if you work for a different corporation or whatever, they look at all these statistics and stuff, and it's very much like, how much did you sell in this quarter? When you own a business, it doesn't matter how much you sell in a quarter, because some people you'll only see once a year or every 2 years, but they're out there telling everybody else about how cool the place is. They're writing reviews for you or like creating content or whatever. They're doing a lot of cool things. that aren't part of that like quarterly statistic. But you're looking at the big picture and the long term when you own a store like this, and that's why you can get such genuine interactions with people. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about what the first day was like here and how the business kind of like changed? Because when I first walked in here, you guys had a lot less, right? What was the store like when you opened?
I would say we definitely had about half the amount of stuff, and I was kind of looking around the other day and just kind of realized how full we are. But the first day was insane. I actually went home and like almost broke down and cried a little bit because I realized how great we did on the first day. I didn't expect to even do like a third of what we really did. And we had a line from the cash register all the way out the door to that. I guess people can't really see how far that is, but probably almost like 100-yard long line of people waiting outside for us to open. And it was literally like that all day. I was hammering away on the cash register for, I think, 6-7 hours before it finally like stopped, and I could like walk away. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about building a community behind it, but it's hard to build a community when you haven't had the store already. So you guys are both from here, right? You're from Eau Claire.
Yep.
Where'd you go to school? How long were you born and raised here, or like how long have you been in the area?
Yeah, I've been here my whole life. I mean, I was in Appleton for a little, like when I was like 1, and then I came here, so I wasn't old enough to know that, obviously, but I've lived here my whole life. I went to North.
Oh, cool. What year did you graduate?
14.
Oh, yeah. So I'm way older than you. Tight. Because I went there too. I graduated 08. Whoops. I'm over 30 already. Sick. So when did you get into like, and I'm going to come back to what I was talking about, but when did you first gain interest in glass? Because it's not something that the average 12-year-old is like, this is really dope, right? A lot of people get into smoking or something and they see a pipe and they're like, this is kind of like art, really, because a lot of them are, you know. And then it kind of goes up. Like if you're buying something that's $3,000, it's for artistic purposes is a lot of why you spend it, right? But when did you gain interest in glass?
We actually took a trip out to like a store in Minneapolis. I ended up getting like one of my first rigs that I've had for probably 6-7 years now. It's the only one I've never sold. And it's the one that I'll probably keep forever, but it's a fish in a bag. It's like one you'd get at a carnival.
Okay. Like it has a real fish in it?
No.
Like,
people think it is, but
oh, sure. Okay.
It's like if you go to the carnival and you win a fish in a bag, that's exactly what it looks like. So that was like one of my first ones, and just like it's different than something you go buy because obviously, you know, you've probably never seen something like that, and that's when I kind of got into like collecting hardcore.
Sure. Who did you go with to the cities for that, and why'd you feel the need to go to the cities? Just because there weren't a lot of places around here to even shop for stuff, or why?
Yeah, definitely. That's like the closest shop that we know of that kind of caters to people who want stuff like that.
Sure.
I end up going out with a couple of my friends, and one of my other friends actually has another fish too, so.
Oh, sick. Was that made by like a local person that was in that area? Do you have any idea what the story is behind that particular one, or no?
It's Silver Fox Glass is his name. He doesn't blow glass anymore, I don't think.
Sure.
I actually tried getting some of his stuff in the shop, but he hasn't posted for a while anyways, so I just haven't heard from him or whatever, but
yeah, life moved on anyways.
Yeah.
Cool. So when I opened my skateboard shop, we had just gotten the little Eau Claire park built, that little one by Lakeshore, which is our only free public skate park as of the moment. We got another one coming pretty soon that I've been raising money for since I was 15. Not kidding. It's been this long, and I'm turning 32 before this thing gets built. That's how long I've been fundraising. Anytime somebody's like, how long have you been working towards the skate park? More than half my life, dude. Like, you don't even know. Anyways, but because of that, I was skating at the park all the time. You know, I opened my store when I was young, like you guys. I was 23, and I was at the park all the time. So when and we didn't have a skateboard shop either at the time. You know, we didn't have any like locally owned type thing. You know, there was Zoomies, but that's like a big chain, right? So anyways, I was at the park all the time, and everybody was like, man, I wish somebody would open a skate shop. And I'm like, yeah, dog, like I'm kind of going to do that. I think like that'd be tight. Right. So I was telling people that kind of through the season that, hey, this is going to be coming. This was kind of before I think I was even on Instagram at all, but even just through Facebook and through friends and stuff, it's such a tight knit community that when you just tell someone, hey, like there's going to be a local shop, it was busy, dude. Same thing. Like, and I didn't have any money, but I sold half of my merchandise in the first day. And we had like a little grill set up outside making hot dogs for people and stuff. And it was just like crazy. There were so many people. That's how I built that up though, was because of the skate community. How did you guys build up so much support and hype for when the shop opened to even have that many people? Because you can't be close friends with all of those people.
The glass community is the same way. It's if people know that they don't have to drive 200 miles or 110 miles to the next closest place, and they have something local, that's just the way they're going to want to go. And everyone knows, like, it's just definitely a tight-knit community for sure.
How did you get the word out? I mean, you guys do a lot of cool advertising now. I mean, I've seen billboards, which is like kind of wild. I've considered doing it before, but I don't think it would, for me, I don't think it would translate because my customer base is much like smaller, but whatever. I mean, even having one of those by Azara's like you have was like a power play.
That was super funny.
But how did you get the word out that it was happening to have, obviously once people found out they would want to come, but how did they find out?
So we did a lot of like social media advertising. That's like the main way we find to reach our customer base for sure. And it's almost like word of mouth. It was a friend telling a friend telling a friend.
Was it like months of hype you were telling people, or like?
Yeah, I would say so. People knew we were opening up a shop, and we probably had stuff sitting in boxes here for about 3 months before we had actually opened. So
sure,
from the point that we got the keys, people were excited to see what we're about to create. So
yeah, I mean, it was the same way with me. I got my keys to my skateboard shop in January, like still obviously snow everywhere, but I was posting like pictures like, dude, this is kind of coming, and I didn't open till April. So that kind of gave me that time frame. Like I had people knocking on the doors, I'm sure you guys had the same, before I was open, saying like, when is this opening? Like, this is sick. Looking in the window, like, when are you getting products? This is going to be a skateboard shop, right? And yeah, so I was able to start building connections that way. You guys started though we have it on the table here, your own isopropyl alcohol. What's the story behind it? Like why did people care, I guess? So
that was kind of like how we got the idea for the shop. It was kind of something you couldn't find at the time ever. Usually like 70%. The stronger it is, the better it cleans.
Right.
So we kind of basically bought a huge barrel of that, bottled it up, and our intent was to honestly at first just sell that, but then we thought about it obviously, and we realized that's not really as lucrative as we thought it was going to be, just selling isopropyl.
Right, yeah.
And Sammy actually gave me the idea to open a store, and I kind of thought about it for a second, and then it didn't take much convincing, and I was with it right away. So
sure. So you guys were business partners from the get-go with it?
Yeah. It was both of our ideas for the isopropyl right away,
sure.
And it just kind of like blossomed into, okay, let's sell merch, let's sell these candles, let's sell snacks, so
sure.
We just added a bunch of stuff to it to make it something we can actually do long term instead of just selling isopropyl.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people struggle with when they open a business is they're very pig-headed on a vision. They write up this business model and this business plan, and they're like, this is how it needs to be. And like, dude, business doesn't work that way. There's a whole lot of X factors that come about, even just with like trends and stuff that happen since you open. And if you're not willing to kind of go with the flow of where things want to be, you're going to struggle. I mean, you have to like maintain your vision, but you have to allow the business to kind of evolve the way customers want it. Mm-hmm. It's not yours. If it's just your store, nobody's going to care. It's going to fail. But if it's a community's store, that's how it ends up working. So people ask me sometimes like, oh, why do you carry this brand or why do you carry that brand? I'm like, dude, well, I mean, I have to respect the company for one, but I don't carry stuff that I like necessarily. It's what people come in and that's what they want. Again, I'm turning 32. Like the skateboard industry is very young. What I think is cool and what a 16-year-old think is cool, like it might be totally different. A lot of times it's going to be totally different. And I have to like not be that super stubborn person that says this is the only thing that's cool. You know what I mean? Where'd the Heady Hut name come from? Like, I kind of get it, but can you explain it?
That was all Sammy's idea, actually. So that was something that we were just kind of thinking of, like names, spitballing names, and that came out of his mouth. I'm like, that's it. I literally, that was another thing. I was just kind of like, I knew right away that was what we wanted to go with.
Sure.
So we had that right from the go-to, kind of just sitting there spitballing names.
Sure.
Like heady glass, that's just kind of like almost like a slang term for like fancy glass and whatnot. So that like the Heady Hut just kind of like a cool little play on it.
Yeah, makes sense. So how do you mentioned earlier that you get a lot of stuff from Japan, Thailand, different places. For me, people ask me, how do you get skateboards? I have to contact the distribution centers or the brands directly and fill out a dealer application. Usually I have to provide pictures of my store and like kind of go through a whole thing to make sure I'm not just some kid selling skateboards out of my trunk at a skate park, you know, like realistically. How do you guys get accounts with these different people? Are they like pretty big suppliers that you work with for a lot of the things, or do you have a bunch of tiny little random accounts? Like, how does that work?
So all the snacks actually come from one person. It's going to be something that we just have to have like our tax ID number essentially to buy, and then you just have to meet the minimum order requirement on like a snack wise thing. So that's all one thing, but the glass is definitely a lot different. All that stuff, there's people that we talk to from California, Texas, Atlanta, like literally everywhere. So the glass is all American hand-blown stuff. So that's more so interacting with a bunch of different artists on Instagram mostly.
Sure.
Is how we reach out to most of them. Otherwise, we find people on like Facebook groups and stuff like that too. So it's kind of just like going through a lot of Instagram feeds.
You treasure hunting.
You click on stuff you like. You find people that, you know, maybe necessarily aren't like the craziest of popularity, but just someone that you can get an order from, because some people have like a 3-year long wait list, and it's like you got to get in line for that stuff, but we need stuff now too. So it's constantly hunting and looking for new stuff that you like. And kind of like you said, I was just talking to Sammy about this the other day. You can't really buy for yourself. You have to, like, if it was up to me, I would have all one kind of, you know, I like a specific style.
Right.
And he likes a totally different style. So that kind of helps us both. Like, we do have stuff that we each like in here, but then we all buy stuff. Like, we'll buy stuff for, you know, everyone else as well, because we know that everyone likes different things.
So what's the style you like that he hates?
He doesn't.
Maybe not hate, but that he's just like, dude, whatever, that's yours, not mine.
I really like the wigwag style.
Explain what that is, because I'm not familiar.
It's like this green guy in the case right here. So
okay,
it's just a bunch of different colors, really, and they're kind of outlined with each other. I guess I'm kind of bad at explaining that part, but if anyone knows glass, they know what the wigwag is. So and then, it can be a bunch of different colors. That's kind of like what I like about it. It's just like a bunch of different colors that you don't normally see together, all blended into one piece.
What about him? What's his thing?
He likes a lot of stuff with like milli chips in it, so like images and stuff. So images and things, I would say, like kind of planted into the. It's kind of hard to explain that too, because I don't blow the glass, but that's what it is. It's a milli image almost.
That's the other question. How come if you guys are both such big fans of glass blowing, you're still young, you could certainly do it. Why aren't either of you why don't you do it? You'd be bad at first, but like, why not get into it?
It's a lot of time. I guess I've watched one of my good buddies grow from being just completely new to where he's at now, and it's a lot of time to get to where you want to be to make something like insane. And I enjoy it. I like collecting it. I think creating it's a whole nother thing. I'm not the most creative I'm not the most creative person in the world, but I enjoy collecting. So
do you think you'll ever get into it someday as just like a side thing to do? Right now you're balancing a lot, right? Because you're still working a full-time job to try to fund this, which is like crazy to me, and hopefully the burnout doesn't hit you way too hard. So I get why you don't have time, but you think you'll ever get into making stuff just because, even if it's just little pendants and stuff?
It'd be fun to try. Just to kind of grasp the concept and like understand, like, I've watched my buddy do it, so I kind of understand some of the stuff he does, but I'm kind of more like a hands-on learner for sure, so I'd have to like do it to understand more. So it'd be kind of cool to understand that aspect, like how stuff is created, other than just like knowing that I like it. Yeah,
dude. I didn't even start painting till I was like 28. You know what I mean? And like now I've been doing murals and stuff. So you can start that type of thing at any point in your life. You don't have to be somebody that like right when you were 17 got an apprenticeship, you know? Like a lot of people feel that's that way with tattooing or something too. No, dude. Like you can start doing that when you're 40. There's like no reason why you can't. Anyways, Dude, I like waking up with pretty crazy music like that too. I was sitting in my hot tub this morning. Yeah, I know. I like to throw that out there. I'm not trying to like flex, but it's my favorite thing. When I got divorced, everything just was the worst. And I'm like, I need to do something nice for myself. So I bought a hot tub and I sit in it every morning drinking coffee. I had to cut it short to be here today. So that's how you know I like you guys. But I was sitting in it and I'm like, Nappy Roots, good day. Hit it, Google. And I'm just like, vibing, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So how did you guys meet?
Well, I went to Memorial and Jake went to North, so
Yeah.
it was like we just kind of met through mutual friends, like out and about at like parties or just like kind of stuff like that, like
Sure.
Instagram-ish. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like I just kind of know a lot of people, so
So when did you guys get become like close enough friends where something like a business would even be on the radar, right? Because it takes a while to build that kind of trust.
yeah. We were neighbors for a little bit, like for like 9 months on Water Street, like right off of Water Street when like he was like 21 and I was like 19 or whatever. So we got to hang out a lot then.
Sure.
Got pretty close and just have been really constantly hanging out since then. So
Dope.
it's been sweet, honestly. I love Jake.
How old were you? So how old are you guys?
I'm 24 and then,
So 26.
yeah.
Gotcha. So you had been friends for a while before you did the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So going into the business in the first place, why didn't you just do it alone? Like why even have a business partner? To buy isopropyl can't be that expensive.
Well, in all honesty, Jake technically was selling isopropyl first.
Gotcha. So
Yeah,
you bought it.
yeah, he had bought some like a couple bottles and was like selling them to his friends and stuff like that, and like people that we knew. And he'd only gotten like a couple, really, probably like 12 bottles or something like that. And I just thought it was a great idea. And
Sure.
I'm not someone to take someone's idea, so
Yeah.
And I love Jake, so I was like, well, we might as well just do this together. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So then when you went to open the shop, because Jake still works like full time, so he can't be spending as many hours here
Yeah.
as you are, I wouldn't imagine. But how does the partnership work? Was it like, and you don't have to tell me the exact numbers or anything, but did you each put in approximately the same amount of money and then you guys just kind of split time here? Did he put in front most of the money because you're doing most of the time in the shop? What are the roles for each of you?
No, it's all split 50-50 cash wise, like
Sure.
thrown in together. We don't like pay ourselves now, like or whatever like that from the store. We just put everything really right back into it.
Yeah.
I've got like online investments and crypto investments and stuff like that. So my money kind of works for itself already, and
Sure.
I don't really need like a whole lot of extra income really. So it's been kind of nice. And then Jake, he comes in Tuesdays and Thursdays and grinds out a bunch of hours, and he's always on our Instagram working. So it's just like, I might work here a couple more hours for sure a week, but like we definitely are splitting the like workload for sure.
Cool.
In the summer he's a little bit busier selling campers or whatever, but like I just knew that like in the winter like he's gonna be able to come crush it. And
Sure.
yeah, it's been nice. I mean, we never really like beef about anything or anything like that, so it all works good.
Dude, I'm jealous. I'm such a jerk. Like, I just can't, like, really what it is I'm a control freak, you
Yeah,
know? Like,
yeah.
I'm good at the things I do. That's like me patting my own back, but it's because I work really hard and I'm very particular about things, you know?
Yeah.
You saw here, like, when I got here, we were initially planning on having both of you. Rather than hopping right in, I'm like, okay, I got to adjust all my questions and rethink how I'm going to go about this, because I'd already kind of ran through in my mind, this is exactly the path that I'm taking. You know what I'm saying? So when I have somebody else, that adds a huge X factor.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so hard for me. Like if somebody just like has a different idea and that's not what I was planning, I'm like, I'm so thrown off.
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
I just sometimes need someone like to kind of like be over there like guiding me too, because I'll get sidetracked for sure. I've got bad ADHD, so it's kind of nice like having someone that is just like, it's like I'm my own boss, but I also have to like do good too because there's someone else relying on me. It's like
Sure.
50-50, so it kind of keeps me on the straight and narrow.
How do you guys handle conflict then? Like if he was like, hey, I think it needs to be these hours, or I think we need to carry this product, and you're like, nah, I'm not about it. How do you guys figure out? Because there isn't one that trumps another. It's not like 51%, 49% where you can just pull that card. Like how does that?
We're both really chill. That's really what it is. Like we never have like, if like I always think he has great ideas, he thinks I have great ideas. Like we just try not to have any conflict, because that's when like it gets like awkward, you know what I'm saying? They're like kind of just
Yeah.
like harder to work with people, and like as long as we're always like on the same page and this like no tension. Like everything just works really. So
Dude, I mean, I think you guys maybe need to have like a plan in place of in case something happens, we sit down on this day a week or this day a month to like go through these are the problems, because you're still early, so things are going to come up. Again, I struggle working with others. Thankfully, I have some friends that I work with, so I'm going to quick talk about them. Collab EC is the newest sponsor of the show. That's owned by Pablo Group in Eau Claire, but it's like a collaboration workspace, kind of like this is a collaboration hangout space. But it's like an office space. You pay a membership, kind of like a gym membership, and you have 24-hour access to go use their printers, their desks, their computers, their conference rooms. It's like for entrepreneurs working by themselves. You know, they don't have to work at home. They can work here, which is tight. The longest running sponsor of the show actually would be Steve's Hemp, I suppose, which we're good buddies with, like all of us. Which
love
is
Steve.
Dude, he's so cool, and I definitely didn't realize how young he was when he first started talking to me. That dude's just like genius.
Yeah, he's super cool guy.
He just knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Which is hard to believe considering, I guess he's like your age, but still, the fact you guys know what you're doing. When I was 23 and I opened my shop, that was a swing and a prayer, and I figured it out.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, steveshemp.com. You get 20% off everything on there with the promo code PASSION. We also did our own tinctures of like Delta 8 with my logo on it, which was like kind of dope when he was a guest on the show. And then the other big one is Hop and Barrel. So we got a little sign and a beer. This Turning Violet beer is one of my favorite ones. It's totally a ripoff of Willy Wonka as far as like the artwork, and they're just like waiting for a cease and desist that hasn't came, which is pretty tight. But it's like, I want to say it's like a 9% sour. So yeah, it gets you, but I'm a huge fan of sours. They're pretty like well known for IPAs and sours.
Yeah, I love sours.
Getting back to your place, who were your initial partners? I'm not saying people that invested, but like opening day, you're going to have products from these 10 people or whatever. Who were the initial people you were like, when I open, these are who I want to carry and who I want to work with?
Well, when we started, the whole point was that I wanted to give a bunch of local glass blowers a platform that paid like the prices that they're asking, like stuff like that. So we had our friend Tristan, Major Mids on Instagram. It's been really fun to see him progress. Like when he first started opening day, we just had these little mini tubes by him that sell for like probably $400, and now he's selling glass art for like $7,000 at shows and stuff like that. So it's been really crazy to see him progress from that. A couple people in the cities. I don't know, just was trying to support as local as possible really with all the glass blowers. Like since then, like we've definitely gotten some more people from like California and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, just Sticker Spot, James upstairs at Banbury Place.
Yeah, he was a guest on the show. He does a lot of my merch too.
Yeah,
he does most of your merch then?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it?
Yeah. And he designed our logo too, which is sweet.
Oh, really? Yeah, I know he does design stuff, but I haven't seen too much of like the stuff that he personally designs. I usually have other people design my things and then he prints them. That's like kind of how it works. You guys are kind of a perfect place for events, right? And that's like kind of part of building a community. What was the first event you threw besides like opening day? There's a lot of people.
Well, we used to do First Friday in Banbury Place. So every first Friday of the month, like all the shops would stay open, and we did like a DJ the first time and really just tried pumping it up. And I don't know, we have a big 420 party coming up. Yeah, just a lot of like first Fridays. Like usually they do an art crawl in Banbury Place and ended up getting canceled like a week before, which was kind of a bummer for everyone.
Because of the pandemic, you mean?
Yeah, it's been kind of a problem with a lot of stuff around here.
How has that changed with you guys from when you opened? Because I imagine you had troubles getting inventory. That was the biggest hiccup, right? Because that was how it was for me too. Has that lifted kind of? Or like how have you guys navigated that? How has it changed?
Well, like our hardest part of opening was getting display cases. Like that's what took us like probably like 2.5 months. Yeah, everything was on back order. So I was looking all over Facebook Marketplace. Like we got a couple like kind of just like not that great of ones, and then eventually they finally hit us up, said that they had them in stock. So that was kind of hard. I mean, shipping stuff, it's still kind of taking a long time to get stuff, especially the snacks. Like we had all of our minimum requirements be boosted up definitely since we opened. Like we used to be able to get just 1 case of soda. Now we have to get 6 cases from a specific region, like all this stuff. So like it's definitely still challenging.
What's the most random, like weirdest snack or drink you got? And did you end up having to sit on a bunch of them?
Yeah, the salted egg Lay's chips. I told my dude, please don't ever send me those again.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a couple of people come pick them out. I judge them for sure.
I mean, they're probably just grabbing it just because.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, If you like eggs, for sure. That's the only chip I haven't tried yet.
Dude, somehow they do make like capture a flavor and it's weird. I had the like chicken and waffles one once, and I was like, dude, I hate this. Like it actually tastes like, I don't like that it tastes that way with this texture. It's odd. What's your favorite what's your favorite thing you've gotten in here that you otherwise would have never been able to get in Eau Claire?
Like snack wise, or just like, I really like the exotic Red Bulls that we get. They're like bunch of different flavors you can't get in America. Like some of them come from Canada or Sweden or whatever, and like I like Red Bull, so it's kind of cool to get like exotic flavors of those, and they always sell really well too, so it's a win-win.
Sure. Yeah, for me, that stuff, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have a heart attack already in my 50s. I know it. Like I'm just like trying to avoid it as much as possible. How do you deal with like artists and glass blowers, which I guess are artists as well for sure? How do you deal with that like value thing of them saying, I want it to be this much, but you're like, realistically, I can only sell it this much? How do you navigate that and like not make people angry, but at the same time value yourself the way it needs to be?
Well, kind of how it goes with me is I'll never haggle an artist on the price. If I just think it's overpriced and we can't sell it, I just won't buy it mostly. I'm never someone to try to devalue anyone's art, because I think that's kind of like grimy to do, because I'm not a glass blower. I don't know exactly what went into it, but like, you know, sometimes, like I was saying, like when we were paused, that you can work on a piece like all day and then it breaks or falls apart. You know, you got to rebuild that whole thing, so you don't know like what they went through in the process to create that art that like puts the price point to where it's at. So it's just like I like letting them price it. They set all the prices in my shop. All my glass artists do. I don't price it myself, because I don't want them to be selling it for less or whatever, that someone could just hit them up on Instagram and just kind of go get the same thing from them for cheaper. So it's like to keep a competitive price. But yeah, I don't like to haggle.
Sure. So do you, I guess, how does it work with that? Because they still would want to sell it to somebody personally, right? Because you guys take a cut. Is the markup? I mean, you don't need to tell me the exact
when
amounts,
when we buy your glass, we get it at a wholesale rate.
Sure. Is the wholesale rate on glass though like a 50-ish% roughly? Is it more like a 20, 30? Because like with skateboards, as an example, and again, you don't need to tell me exact prices. I don't expect that. But with skateboards, everyone knows there's no profit.
Yeah.
Dude, like I get maybe a 25% profit margin before I pay shipping on something that's awkward and like shit. It sucks.
For sure.
I don't make much money, but like t-shirts, you know, I make up on my own branded shirts. That's why I sell a lot of them, shirts and sweatshirts. I make up that profit margin. Does glass have much of a profit margin, or like where do you get your profit margins from what you sell?
Yeah, the glass has good profit margins for sure. At wholesale rate, just kind of depends on an artist. You know, sometimes you'll catch a 50, sometimes you get a 30, like 40. Like it just kind of depends on like where they value it and like their popularity. Like if they're really popular and they know they can get a lot, like they're only going to give you like a smaller percentage, especially if they're able to off their glass on Instagram, or like they already able to get rid of their glass, because some glass blowers are really good with social media, but some glass blowers are really not at all. So like that's kind of like where like shops really help, so they like to hook them up more. It just kind of depends really. So
that's how artists are in general, dude. There's so many people that don't know what they're worth. We were talking about this off mic, and I'm not going to say which names, but you have art that's really expensive, you have art that's way underpriced, and I'm like, dude, some people don't know what they should be charging for their stuff. And I think that's actually kind of genius for you to allow people to set the pricing on stuff and just say, hey, I don't think it's going to move. Or like, dude, if this doesn't sell, like you're the one who picked the price, so you're the one who's valuing it too high. Then it's not you who's telling them that it's overvalued. If something doesn't sell, do you just have to sit on it, or do artists kind of work with you on that stuff?
There's definitely been artists that have offered to buy stuff back, like in their wholesale catalog, they'll list that. But I usually will just sit on it, like kind of live and learn kind of thing. Like we do like some, like we did like for Black Friday, we had a big event where we were able to do percentages off on glass, and we were stuff that we had sitting around for longer than others, we had marked down to like even 40% off or whatever. Kind of you just sell it off, move it, and then just kind of hit restart, and you just learn from there. Like, you know, if it's overpriced or whatever, people aren't feeling it, you just don't really get it from that artist again.
Sure. So it's hard to manage money when you own a business, and I know you don't necessarily always do it fantastically because you own a lot of things. People bring in whatever you want, like whatever, and you buy it because you think it's cool. I do that often with myself, and thankfully people come in and buy it. I'll order like one hoodie in my size of this thing from this brand, and almost always somebody buys it just because like it's cool. That's why I got it. But have you amassed just like a ridiculous amount of stuff from the store here, art and glass and whatnot?
I mean, honestly, there's only probably like 4 or 5 pieces besides like some of the more expensive Sherlocks and hammer pipes that are here from opening day glass wise. Like, we've done a pretty good job of being able to filter through everything. Like, we had a bunch of this one flavor of chips, like corn. It was literally the most basic ever. And like, they were actually really good. They're like sweet buttery corn, but we had a lot of those for a long time that we sat on, but we eventually cleared them out. So basically everything sells.
Have you taken much home, like for yourself?
Like of the snacks?
Well, snacks or art or anything?
Oh yeah, I've got a problem buying glass. That's half the reason that we had to open up the shop, because I already had like huge collection of glass at home that like needed somewhere to display like stuff that like, because I'll buy it, not even use it at all, and just like I just like to look at it really. Like, and Jake has so many marbles, stuff like that. So I've got a problem. I'll buy glass all the time from the shop.
Do you have like a glass case to display them at home? How do you display that stuff?
Yeah, I've got a display case. That's really nice.
That's like definitely.
Jake's got one too. 3 tiers.
That's a problem. So Jake was saying how like you need to have almost like a mentor or somebody showing you like why glass is cool. What is it about glass so what do you have in your collection besides like pipes? You said marbles and stuff. What kind of glass do you collect, and why is it that you personally like, what is it? So I know that it's unique, but why is it unique, and why do people want to buy it? Why do people spend so much money on it?
I just think it's like some of the stuff some people are putting out these days is so insane, especially like if you've ever tried glass blowing. Like, you start off rough, like no matter what, like very few people catch on extremely quick on that. So like, just like to see some of these people who have been blowing glass for like 10 years and like what they're able to put together now is just like so mind blowing to me, because like I literally could never. So like, that's kind of the cool part for me. Like, that's some of the reasons that I don't glass blow really either, because like I think it would almost take out the magic of it sometimes, because like I would know like exactly and be able to see more like flaws or like whatever like that. Like, I just like being able to look at it and just like think it's extremely cool, and that I could never do it. So.
Do you keep some jewelry or anything? I know a lot of people.
Pendants. I have a couple pretty cool pendants at home. That I've got one that's like a bunch of dots to like form a picture or like a little pattern in it, and it's just like there's probably like 1,000 little micro dots to create this little picture of the pendant, and it's just like insane. Like, it's flawless. So.
Sure. So when you open a business, I was kind of talking about with Jake about it too. You kind of have to change where you're going with things a little bit. You know, hopefully your vision of what the business is was like on point from the beginning, but usually you kind of have to change your business model. What did you plan to set it, like when you set out to do Heady Hut? What were your plans, and how have they changed since you opened and kind of learned what business really is?
Well, when we first opened up, I had like the idea of it was so great and so awesome, and I was so excited, but didn't really think about how much time I was gonna really have to spend down here as much. And so we definitely have put a lounge in here since because like, you know, some days are definitely slower than others, and just like if I was down here just standing, my knees would literally shatter. So it's kind of nice to have like a little hangout area. You know, I can have friends come through, or like I've met a lot of people through the shop that come through, and like we play video games and just like hang out. We'll watch like the UFC fights on the weekends sometimes, and it's just like just more of a like I don't know. It's kind of
dude. I have same thing. I have a TV in my store and I have a couch.
Yeah.
Granted, with my show and stuff, I have so much computer work to do that I'm like pretty rarely chilling.
Yeah.
But for the knees alone, like I can't stand there. Plus, it is cool to like. That's what kind of brings people in to want to hang out more, and those people eventually spend money. Like that's always how it works, right? You don't have to make money today.
Yeah, we'll just be hanging out in here, and you know, like people start munching on the chips, or just like they've been eyeing something up, and like just like eventually like 2 hours into us hanging out, they're like, all right, I'm gonna buy that.
Yeah. Or they'll just invite their friends, like, hey, come kick it. You know, this is where I'm at right now, and then their friend comes in. If like I said, if you don't focus on the like I'm gonna sell something right now, if sales are kind of secondary, and it's more providing this cool place, I think that's long term how it works. You know, this was kind of like an impromptu thing to be able to kind of like bring both of you in, and I think it's working pretty well. So this is dope. But if anyone wants to hear more, and especially if you're listening to this on the radio in Eau Claire, you just come down and hang out. Like I'm sure you guys are busy with customers too, but this obviously is a place that's more meant just to like kind of kick it. You know what I mean? And I like the thing is I become personal friends with a lot of my customers. I'm sure you guys are the same way, where it's just like and you're still new at business, so you haven't seen the progression so much. You said a little bit, you know, but I've seen kids that were like 12 that then went to college and now are like finishing their majors and stuff. Like that's how much time has gone by, which is like crazy. But you get to know people really well and kind of like see that progression, that journey. And that's why like being friends with them is so cool. Why you're not even going to work. You know, there's always going to be things you don't like about it, but like it doesn't feel like work a lot of the times. You're just like coming to hang out with all your friends. This is the type of place that if you didn't own it, you would probably come kick it here a lot, like kind of regardless. Along those lines, what's your people always say like, what's your favorite movie? And then people go, oh, I can't think of my absolute favorite. So it doesn't have to be your favorite, but one of your favorite things about owning a business that you weren't expecting to be something that was like an awesome benefit of being here. What was something that's kind of just like a surprise, like, dang, this is kind of dope about owning a business?
I would say definitely getting to interact with all the new artists, like people that I probably wouldn't normally try to reach out to.
Sure.
Just because I wouldn't buy that much glass normally unless I owned a shop, obviously. So getting to reach out to all these new artists that I wouldn't normally reach out to and almost collecting for myself, like stuff in the store that I don't necessarily have the money to buy myself. So just kind of stuff like that.
Dude, I always tell people, I used to call it Christmas, like Christmas every day. You know,
That's
because
what it is.
that's what I'm saying. I'll order, especially during busy season, dude, $1,000 a day of product sometimes or more, you know? And then when those boxes come, like, I know it's not mine, but it like kind of feels like mine, you know? So like the little kid in me is like, oh my God, all these skateboards are mine and they're so cool. And like, obviously I don't keep them, you know, but you still kind of get that feeling, at least when, you know, obviously if you work at a different store, inventory, because I've been in sales for a long time, I've been there to unbox inventory all the time. And I never cared. You know, but when you own it,
yeah, it's a different story.
It's a totally different story. And that's what I was saying about like with Sam taking a lot of glass home and stuff that he ends up buying. It's like so hard to not take everything home because everything is exactly what you wanted. And you know, you didn't pay that much for it. You know, you paid way less than retail. So it's like hard not to take. Anyways, so that's one of your favorite things. What's one of the bigger challenges that has come up that you weren't really expecting to be a huge challenge with owning a business?
I would say definitely keeping track of your inventory.
Yeah.
And pricing it right away definitely is a thing that everyone should do right away.
Yeah.
At first we kind of would misprice things, or like a sticker would slide over too far and, you know, we'd take a loss on a couple of things, but now we've got it locked down to where it's all stuck to the glass, you know, or in front of it, like, you know, actually peeled back the sticker and stuck it on there this time so it doesn't move around.
Yeah, I suppose it's a little bit tough because you're not necessarily here when everything comes in, right? Because you take turns with who works what day. So you wouldn't necessarily know that this needs to be priced this dollar amount because you weren't there to see the invoices and whatnot. And I'll tell you another thing, dude, a lot of people in businesses, skateboarding included, it's not on purpose, but like people packing orders aren't always packing everything because they're just like kicking it with their friends or whatever. The people who work in industries like we work in, you can't always trust to be the most dependable people. They're cool as hell, but not necessarily most dependable. If I don't check my invoice, dude, there's stuff missing invoices like often, you know what I'm saying? And it's never on purpose and it's not usually super expensive, but I'm not trying to lose profit margins because somebody was dinking around and just like didn't put something in my thing. That and like defects too. Do you guys ever have stuff come in that you're like, this is like already cracked or broken or, you know, whatever, who's going to take that loss? Like, do you look over that? And when that happens, do you make sure that you reach out and try to handle it? Or like what happens if that happens, I guess?
They're usually pretty good about, if it's something that's easy to repair. I mean, we've had stuff with like, you know, a pinhole in a drain or something where it would just leak a little water. That's something super easy for the glass blower to just fix.
Yeah. But if they don't live locally, ship them to them?
Yeah, we'll ship it back to them. Most of the time they'll pay for shipping.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, you know, they'll just Venmo us or whatever. But it's pretty amazing how easy it is to work with some of these people. And a lot of people offer like free repairs on their own art. So like if anything ever happens to it, like if a joint cracks or whatever, honestly, a lot of them I would say are pretty cool about fixing it for free, if not a really low cost, so they can, the person can still have their art.
Dude, that's one of the things about small businesses that I think a lot of people don't realize. If you work for a larger company and you're a manager or whatever, and you're dealing with vendors, they don't care about you because they know that the company doesn't care about them either. This is just like business, but when you work in a small scale like we do, it's such a person to person interaction all the time that people know you're not trying to screw them unless you have a reputation of being that way. But
right.
Usually people know that like you want to help them. You both want to win. How do you both win and you both want to stay, keep each other happy? People will usually go pretty far out of their way to make sure you're happy. I mean, I just had a order, dude, this is kind of wild, from Deluxe Distribution. People who don't know skateboarding don't realize, but it's a big distribution out in San Francisco. And my order went missing. And I'm like, dude, this is a lot of money. Like, what's up? Where is this? It was on a train for UPS. I didn't know they used trains. Apparently it was on a train and the train car derailed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. And so it wasn't just mine that got lost. It was like a lot that got lost, and they're like trying to figure it all out. I could have been a jerk, but where was that going to get me? Right. I want to have a relationship with these people moving forward because they're an awesome like distribution of a bunch of cool brands. I've had nothing but cool experiences in the past, and I didn't even have to push for it. And they're like, well, what can we do? And I was like, dude, I have a pretty big like board collection, like signed by pros and stuff that I'm not selling. It's just like, I mean, like you guys, I have stuff that's like, I probably could sell it, but like, I'm not selling it.
Not for sale.
Yeah. So yeah, they had Dennis Business, who's like a very well-known pro skateboarder, if you know skateboarding, sign one of his pro boards for me. And so that's coming with my order just cause.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'm like, sick. I get to have another board. And like my shop, there's boards hanging from the ceiling, I don't know if you've been in there or not, but there's a lot of boards. So it's like, I don't know where I'm going to start putting them all. They're eventually going to have to bleed into my house, and it's going to get, it's about to get way too ridiculous. So moving forward, what can we expect from Heady Hut? I know you guys are thinking about moving to a different location at some point because Banbury Place is dope, but you don't get natural foot traffic. You're not outside. I got to imagine not having windows bothers you, sometimes. But what are the goals with Heady Hut moving forward? Like, what do you want to try to do?
I mean, just like everyone, we always want to be bigger and better than what we are now. I would say we definitely want to expand on the glass, being a glass shop, but we also love everything else that we carry too. So finding more local artists and stuff to carry their stuff. More snacks. We've expanded the snacks, but we're trying to do that even more after being shared on a couple of pretty crazy pages in Eau Claire.
Sure.
Just specifically for the snacks, we had to pop up a whole nother table. So
sure.
Just kind of expanding on all the stuff that we have, just making more of a variety available to people, maybe more merch designs. That's something we're really pushing for, and just more variety in that.
But what happens if you go to like Water Street or something to get this square footage anywhere except here? It's going to be hard. It's going to be way more expensive. So would you downsize to be in a like more trafficked area? Or are you trying to like specifically keep this kind of vibe of like a big space?
Just from what I've found, the spots I've been looking at, although they are more expensive than this, but I think from what I've calculated out, just like crunching numbers and whatnot, being kind of more so like undervaluing what I think we can do, it would still make sense to do something and move, and we'd still like the additional foot traffic that we get just from being in a well-lit area, to say, would kind of help us cover that cost. Yeah. I mean, it's hard unless you have a clientele kind of like mine or yours where they seek this type of thing out. People aren't going to find you here. This is an old tire factory for people who aren't familiar. Like, we're tucked way back in. Unless people knew you were here, or obviously that's where all those Google reviews, which you guys have a lot of, which is smart, and I've tried to push for them myself as well over the years. No one's going to find you. No one's walking past here. In fact, there's nothing else to walk by, really. Like, right. You guys are really, really tucked away, but that's what allows you to kind of have this whole feel. You said everyone wants to get bigger and better. You got to be careful with that. And this isn't me just trying to preach at you, but one of the biggest mistakes that people make is growing too soon because they're trying to be too ambitious. And then they put themselves in a position where they lose everything they really liked about it. Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You can look at like an example in the Chippewa Valley of Festival Foods. They bought out all those grocery stores, or not Festival, Gordy's. They bought out all those grocery stores, and they couldn't handle the inventory. It was way too much. This vibe that we have in here, where you can just like chill on the couch and hang out with friends and all that, it's going to be hard to replicate that if you're in a more trafficked area. Now, all of a sudden, you have to have more employees because there's more foot traffic. That means you have to be able to watch people from stealing more. So you have to be a little bit more on top of it. Just something to like really think about, because I spent a lot of time looking at expanding my shop down to a different area downtown that would have been more heavily trafficked, would have been a larger square footage. And as I thought about it, it's like, well, I'm not in this for the money to begin with, right? I'm in it because I really love what I'm able to do in this space. If I go to this other location, now money has to be a bigger part of what I have to consider too. There's more opportunities, but there's a lot of like other big things to really consider. You guys have something really cool going on. So just, I don't mean to preach because you guys know what you're doing. I'm just saying, I love what you got going on. So like really spend a lot of time thinking before you make big moves, like for sure. Anyways, I always ask these two questions near the end of the show, which I kind of told you about off mic. When you do things you're passionate about, you get to have a lot of cool experiences that usually aren't super related to money versus most people's jobs. You know, most of the time is about money. You know, they go to work for a paycheck, and that's for the most part why they go, you know? But when you do something you care about, you get to have a lot of other cool experiences that probably have nothing to do with money. Can you share a story of a unique experience you're really grateful for, but it only happened because you chose to pursue glass?
Yeah, so we actually got to take a trip out to Las Vegas this year.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's
like a convention?
Yeah, a massive convention in Vegas there.
Cool.
It's in the Bally Center. It's super cool. There's so many artists. It took probably all of the 3 days it was going on for us to figure out like where everyone was and like to meet. We didn't even get to stop and talk to half the people, but I got to
How
talk
many vendors,
to.
if you had to guess?
God, that brochure was
Like
so
hundreds?
huge. Yeah, I would. What do you think? Like two? Yeah,
500 plus?
it was huge. It was 2 huge rooms in this convention center of just tables like
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
People would have
Sure.
single tables just loaded with glass. So much to look at. But one of the things that I got to do was talk to Jester Fee, which is one of my guys that I collect a lot of marbles from. It was just really cool to get to talk to him. I got to sit and look at all of his new stuff, of course, that he's got. Actually, ended up buying one thing last time I was at a show from him for my mom. But he explained to me one of my Star Wars marbles that I actually have in the shop here. There's a Yoda Millie in it that is from the 1980s, and he said he's probably the only glass artist alive that still has a chunk of that.
Oh, God.
So it's one of the 8 marbles that he's made in that like Star Wars theme, that big, and the Millie on top of that is probably like 40 years old. So
When did you get that one? Did you get it at that show, or you had it from a while ago?
no, I've had that one for a while ago. That was like one of the first marbles. Well, not the first marbles, but that was one of the first couple I had bought that got me like super into collecting them.
Yeah.
If you look down there, I've got that big marble rack. And
I didn't realize they made big marbles.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of like regular size marbles.
Yeah, these are all, they have pictures in them and everything. So that the Star Wars one that I'm specifically talking about has 4 or 5 different scenes inside of it.
How big is it?
It's probably,
Like a
I think
baseball?
it's 3 inches. Yeah, it's like a
Whoa.
3-inch diameter marble.
Okay.
But that's one of my favorite ones. It's probably one I would never sell, along with one of my other Piper Dan ones that I really like a lot too. So
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just meeting the people that you have access to meet. I mean, people are just people, but still, like, we all have like heroes, people we follow, people we look up to that you otherwise probably can't meet. Dude, that happens to me a lot with the industry. You know, the funny thing is with the podcast, I get to meet a lot of people's favorite artists and like people they look up to that I didn't know who they were until like shortly before I interview them. So like I don't have the perspective, and then I just become friends with them. But it's always the other way when you like are a fan of somebody before you meet them. It's like such a weird experience. You have to try not to fangirl out on them and get like too excited about their thing that they do. I just got an original painting from my all-time favorite artist, which is crazy. He's not huge, you know, but big enough anyways. But he was actually responding to my DMs. His name's Lucas Buford. He inspired a lot of my paintings, and I ended up getting in contact with him and talking. And yeah, I have an original painting of his, and I'm like overly excited. I don't think anybody else that I know knows who this person is. He's over in France. But to me, it was like the coolest thing ever. So yeah, that type of thing you got to cherish, because the second you sell it, you're going to regret it. You know, money comes and goes, but like those types of things that evoke some kind of emotion, that's what you have to hang on to. On the flip side, we all make mistakes. And I know we were talking a little bit about like inventory stuff, so maybe you'll have something else for me too. But we all make mistakes, and that's how you learn from things, right? Like even just today, we thought we were going to have all three of us, and then we realized, oh wait, this board doesn't work for us to connect in 3 microphones. Now I'll know for the future if I'm for sure doing 3. We're going to look into this for sure ahead of time, so that way it's not an issue. Can you tell a story of a mistake you made that taught you something that somebody listening might benefit from?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely elaborate on the inventory thing too, because sure. I've specifically sold a couple pipes. Well, I guess one specifically on accident that I took like almost a $300 loss on.
How? You missed a zero? Like what?
No, it was one of the things with the sticker story I was kind of telling you about. It slid over a little too far into the next category, and it was just something that we hadn't priced yet. And I sold it to one of my buddies. So I guess on the flip side, it wasn't the most painful thing because my buddy got something really cool that he liked, but I definitely almost lost like $300 on it.
Oh no.
So that was one of the more expensive ones that I've had. I've sold a couple marbles and stuff for a little bit less than what I should have too, just from doing the same thing. But I mean, everyone makes mistakes, so it's definitely something you just got to learn from, as long as you have a solution to come up with. I mean,
yeah, well, it's easy to get careless because you don't have anybody over your shoulder that's going to discipline you. But when it's affecting your wallet, it does discipline you. But it's way better to give somebody way too good of a deal than it is to screw somebody over on accident.
Right.
Like if it had to be one or the other, at least it was that route. And really, people don't understand how big how difficult that part of business is. For me, that's the hardest thing. Whenever people ask me what's the toughest part about owning a business, dude, I have to try a lot of stuff. I have to pre-book 6 months in advance. I have to try to predict what kids are going to think is cool in 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. You know how hard that is? I can't. It's so hard for me to know what they think is cool right now, let alone where trends are going to go. I had a girl in my shop the other day wearing an Apple Watch that the band was a scrunchie. And I'm like, since when is that cool? I would have never guessed that was a thing, but apparently that's a thing now. So yeah, no, I mean, knowing what to order, you end up having to take a loss on stuff. And that's something eventually, as you talk more with your clientele, and as long as you're not pig-headed and you're willing to listen, you can get slowly better at. But that's what people don't understand. You sell something for $300, they're like, oh, I just gave you $300. And you're like, okay, no, I made $120 on this one, but I had to discount the other $5 I got from the same vendor. So really, it's not, you know what I mean? So you got to be really careful with those types of things. How can people, again, so actually I forgot to ask this at the beginning. Usually I ask, but at the end, I'll ask, how can people best follow you? See all the stuff that you guys have. Obviously, they can come into the space here, which is over in Banbury Place in Eau Claire. If you just look up Heady Hut, you'll find it because of your 200 plus 5-star reviews that are on there. How can people best follow you, and then how could they get in contact if they wanted to reach out after the episode?
Honestly, Instagram's our best platform. We post daily, and it honestly cross-posts to Facebook as well. So realistically, if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you're going to see the same feed. But we're really active on social media. We post every day. We usually try to have in excess of like 5 to 10 stories of different things. When we drop new stuff, it's always on our story. We post about it all the time. So if you see something you like, definitely come down and get it, because some of the stuff on our drops doesn't last too long.
Do you just can someone just DM you to claim stuff?
Yeah.
You're cool about that too?
If anyone wants to dib something, as long as you don't ghost me for a week before you come down and pay for it, then I'll definitely hold it for you. Most people come down the same day, if not the day after.
Do you sell much online? Do you ship things?
Yeah, it's we don't have a website right now.
But
we're
just
working on
interaction.
Yeah, people DM us. We've had I sold a couple things to people out in Minnesota. We've shipped stuff to Oregon, a couple other states on the West Coast. So we definitely have shipped a few things. We're not too heavy on that quite yet, but that's just part of growing the social media. You get other people to interact with you and buy stuff off the Instagram itself.
On the daily, if you had to guess how much time goes into social media, I don't think people who don't own a business have a perspective on this, because people ask me, why aren't you on this platform? Why aren't you in here? Why don't you do... Dude, you don't understand how much time I put into mine.
Yeah.
How much time goes into it on a daily, if you had to guess?
Well, I guess I kind of almost know because my iPhone tells me.
Sure.
And it's kind of a scary figure, but I'm on my phone 6.5 hours a day, and I would say it's not all me being on Snapchat or anything like that. It's me scrolling through Instagram, looking for new artists, DMing people, hoping that, it's one thing to send them a message, but then you got to get a message back from them before you can buy anything. So there's plenty of shots sent out, and then you got to wait for them to come back. So I spend a lot of time on there scrolling through, sending screenshotting it, sending to Sammy like, hey, do you like this? Or, do you think we should get these? So definitely a lot.
Dude, yeah, 5 hours a day. No, for real though, I spend a ton of time on all mine too. Same way with all the editing and stuff. There's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. If people want to support you, what's the best way? Do they just stop in the shop? Should they write a review? Should they wear a t-shirt around and tell everybody? Like, what's the best way they can support you guys after hearing this and they're like, I just want this place to exist forever?
Definitely any of that. I mean, we love the merch. We have our logos printed right on it. So, kind of word of mouth helps. We love Google reviews. That's something I've been pushing about for, a long time. It gives people a chance to kind of leave a personal story from their experience here. Because I can't always tell that, if something's really special to someone and they don't tell me, how am I supposed to know? So this just that gives them a reason to leave a good review about an experience they had for other people to see.
Yeah, and the number of reviews matters, for the 5.0 or however high, if you got a 4.9 or 5, whatever, but people scroll through and then they read the stories. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that. So if you just say they're great, that's tight and that is helpful. But like if you write like a specific story and they say your name in it, people actually do read that. And they don't read through all of them, but once they find a couple of them that sticks in their brain, they're like, who's this Jake dude? Like, I gotta see Jake. This guy sounds really cool. Well, anyways, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a pleasure. Can't wait for this to be released for everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.